We look at Mars. Her Mars starts retrograde, then goes direct and forward. So, okay, on this chart I have both put Venus and Mars right on it, but on the same chart, but we'll just go down to look at the Mars. Everybody has their story, you know, it just unfolds and you have to follow along, and then you're curious. And you're curious. It's not like we're defining someone. We're seeing their faces, their cycles, we're watching their music, and we can imagine what their dance might be, but observing and finding out what their dance is by talking to them, that's the mechanics of a consultation. That's where you really get into the deep things. And you gotta be ready to go through with it. So her Mars was started retrograde, so her physical energy went back into degrees before this lifetime. It's like you could either see it, her energy was going back, is tied up to the months before or the weeks before she was born, with her mom, attitude to her mom, just in those few weeks as the Mars came up to that place when she was born. You know that her mom didn't have an easy birth because she had the moon Mars and there was some disruptive thing around, and that's how she got this temperamental thing herself. But the Mars was going back, so going back, it's like her energy was going back to karma from another lifetime. It didn't hit that point. It didn't go direct till 76, 77. So 77, 76, 15, 16 years old, and her Mars went direct. It went back, and then that's at the same time something was happening with Venus. Venus was conjuncting the moon, like she was starting to break out, and her Mars started using her Mars, but it wasn't until 1993 that the Mars got past this, before this lifetime karmic cycle. It's only in 1993 that Mars is moving forward in the degrees. It's like what she's doing starts to relate to what's happening in this world now and what she's doing. So that's the thing. So in 2004 February, so that means Mars conjuncted itself. It came back to its own place in 93 May, but by February 4th, it was squaring the moon, 2004. Well, the squaring to the moon was somewhere in here, like between this. I would have met her around 92, 93, around somewhere in this area, but she studied astrology, but she was working, and then she changed her life. But she had her kid and stuff. She got married, had the kid in during this period. And then by 2004, the Mars is squaring the moon. She's running around taking care of the kid. And they were repairing their house for a couple of years, or fixing the basement, adding a thing, and there was construction in their place for a number of years. So that's probably during that. That may have been later. I'm not sure. But anyways, this was having the kid. It's not till 2020 in April. That's a few months from now, that the progressed Mars hits the descendant and goes above into the house of relationships. Well, she's getting her divorce. She's getting her energy clear. She's breaking with the past, Mars square the moon. She's gone through all of that, gone through the karma of it, with the Mars touching itself, then coming up, squaring the moon. I mean, it would have been more difficult if Mars went forward and then retrograded back and forth over the moon, but here it just went direct over the moon to 2004. Now it's hitting the descendant, and her actions are no longer tied to the sixth house of having to be of service. They're coming up to doing things with others and for others, but not so much. It's like, it's interesting that she's trying to get clear and clearing the relationship and trying to get on her own through here. So I hadn't really thought about the idea of someone else coming in, but the Mars going into the seventh, if you're in the one, I wonder if someone else walks in here or comes into her life. But if someone else comes in, she's not going to. They're going to have to be aligning with her. She's going to be leading it. I think she was going to want her freedom a bit more than that. But the Mars has moved out of the sixth house crises area of having to adjust to the critical damages of everyone else, and it gets more functional as it goes above. So that's another big turning point. You have the Venus going retrograde, the Mars going forward. These are big shifts in the progressions. And these shifts take time. Like Mars goes over there, that says April, but it's within a degree of that for 3 or 4 years. You know, it's still the issue of surviving the marriage, getting on, what am I doing? She's got her Mars squaring the moon. That's her dialogue. It's tied into those things. Maybe it's tied up to the daughter getting married or something. But her energy is going out and above. It's not going more to being at home or being below the horizon. That's a big shift across the horizon. So these are the inner things going on. So now this is a printout of 10 years, 5 years back, 5 years forward of all the progressions. I just put them all together, including the moon. Really, you're going to see the moon phase, but you'll see if a planet's changing sign. Any of the big aspects will come up, but it puts them all together. I like seeing one at a time and seeing it, so I have the progression of that one planet moving this way, because those are the streams where it's easy to see what advise someone. Yeah, well, your mind's supposed to go this way, your emotions are going this way, and you can begin to check it out, how well it's working with the outside world or not. So 2014. Oh yeah, just put the moon opposed Pluto, but the moon, you can say they can dissociate just small aspects. It's still 2-month periods when the moon opposes, like moon opposed Pluto, February 11, 2014. That's January, February. There's confrontation around the home. So any of these aspects a while. I used to accentuate the ascendant, but I don't accentuate the ascendant anymore because I realized the ascendant doesn't move 1 degree a year. The progressive ascendant, it moves 361 degrees. So that means it's only moving through 1 degree across a day. You know, like I progress 4 minutes through a day. So like really you're looking at something that's a few days longing. So they're trigger points, but they're very quick ones. So I don't really mark them in. I'm looking for the deeper long-term things. 2015, her moon went into Aries. And along then it would have had the lunar return, or it would be, there it is in 2015, I didn't mark it in. 2017, her Mercury progressed into Pisces, went out of Aquarius, got into Pisces. And I'm not sure when she started her satsang. She was going to them before, but I think she began to start her own satsang in her own center, her own mystical center during this period. That had been a bit before that, but within the degree of that. And then moon went into Taurus. So there's not, but any major planet aspect is going to be, like here's a Mercury trine, because it's trine, I didn't put it in, but if there's a Mercury square, any planet or any angle, if something touches the angle on the right-hand side to your natal chart, it's going to be a big thing. But here, her Venus stationary direct, stationary retrograde, May 31st, 2019. There's I should have marked it, but it was right there with the, and in June, the sun went into Aries. And this is all the time around getting divorced, finishing things, finalizing things, and get to take care of these things. And she's trying to go forward. The husband's resisting paying anything. So there's a struggle with that. And August 18, moon opposed Uranus, disruption, shocks. 2020, June, the moon goes into Gemini. She's going to want to be more free, more independent. Might want to take some kind of trip or something. But I'm really looking for the moon sign changes. And you can see this is procrastinating, so you can't get the phases of the moon from this. This is the moon square Pluto, August, this coming August. So July, August, moon square and Pluto. That's still a confrontational time. But in the progressed sign, this is the progressed chart, and the progressed Jupiter conjuncts the sun. That's a big deal. Her progressed Jupiter has finally moved up past Saturn. It's moved up to gone into Aquarius and conjunct her sun in 2020. Let's see if we get one. Jupiter went into Aquarius. It should be in here. It's a while. It's a degree and a half, so it's it should be somewhere in these. No, I can't see it. So it might have been just before that 4-year period, but it's finally got up to the sun. Doesn't move a degree a year, so like depends how fast it's going. So there, and the Venus stationary retrograde, the sun's going into Aries. This already happened. It's already changed. There's a big, huge changes. Changes of what she wants, what she's trying to do. It's just really changing those things. Her Venus is slowing down to go retrograde. It's in Aries. her sun's in Aries, now progressed sun's in Aries, and the Jupiter's coming up to conjunct her natal. Jupiter is progressing into Aquarius and conjuncting her sun. Not only is a progression, this is in 2020. Well, in 2020, that's the end of 2020, so that's pretty close. Shortly, just after that, Jupiter is going to go into Aquarius and conjunct her sun by transits too. So in terms of finding a teacher, in terms of teaching, in terms of being under new understanding, that's a huge beginning. But it doesn't come easy because the progressed sun by January will come up and be squaring the Mars. So there's still battles over what needs to be done. There's still, that could be, there's still attitudes with anger, frustration, still probably tied with the husband or something. I'm not sure. There's still, that square to Mars with the progressed sun, that Mars is only at 1 degree, 36 minutes of Cancer. So with the Mars going into, the sun went into Aries in June. It's within a degree of that by then, from June this year, 2019. So this has been building up for a long time, this final completion. So this is still a battle, the sun fighting the Mars. It's a spiritual thing. So it senses that there's still inner struggles and inner battles going on, but there's also the understanding of what it all means and where it's going. So there's a really good thing happening in the midst of the struggle. Then, so like I went through this, there's moon aspects and stuff. I'm looking, there's Mercury, it opposed the node. So I don't really look at these strong, but sometimes things can happen, especially if it's family or stuff, where the Mercury opposed the moon affects the way of thinking. I'm not sure. So I just marked it to watch, not to think. That's 2023. At the same time, the sun conjuncts the moon. That's the progressed sun conjuncts the natal moon. It's not the progressed new moon. This is the progressed sun, but it's still a strong point on how I need to live, what I need to do, and the confidence of the sun begins to come in and empower that moon. It makes the moon a matter. So getting our own place, having control of our own place, that's there. It's coming steadily. So I'm not going to surrender that. Then the next sheet is to progress. So we've got a few things, these are just embellishments backing up, and they're really the inner current going on, and the transits are acting it out. But you can see them kind of working together. I don't have a fixed sense of how it should be. I just watch them in these layers, and I start to make sense of them as they come in, knowing the progressions are the inner thing. Her progressed new moon, there it is, 2015. That was the new moon. The progressed Mars square the ascendant, that's a big thing, 2018. That was probably the beginning of the, I gotta make up, I can't put this up anymore. That's the battle zone. She's a fighter, so she has the Mars afflicted to the moon, or moon afflicted from the Mars. So anytime Mars comes up, it's going to trigger those things. So that's May 21st, 2018. The crescent moon phase began in October 2018, which we read. Moon's in June, moon squared Uranus, it shocked. Things went on. 2020, sun squares Jupiter. That's a positive thing for the understanding in August 2020. I'm usually watching for the difficult things, but when there's something from a planet, like even in 2020 May, Pluto is trining the midheaven. So there are good things that happen inside of it. It's hard to say what a good thing is. You can see how you're getting away with the bad things. So, but because it's Jupiter, that's fairly positive. And then 2022 goes into the next moon phase. So it's not till 2023 that Mercury opposes her Pluto. So that's the rethinking, what's real, what's not. That's the reality check mentally. Okay, so that's basically done the progressions, we've done the progressed to natal and progressed to progressed. We watched the moon phases, we've looked at going around, we saw where it is against the back. See, if you haven't done the natal chart well, you can't understand the person. Then if you see the transits, you see the transiting challenges, you have to have that texture. Once that texture comes in, you can see how this other agenda is working inside of it and has a bit of way how it would tend to influence decisions to go in this direction.